Hello, Amit. Nice to
Hey
meet you.
Nancy,
Welcome
nice
to my
seeing
live
you.
stream.
Thank you
Can you
so
hear
much.
me
It's a
okay?
pleasure being here. Yeah. How
Okay.
about you? Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you. And I
Okay.
realized I didn't hook up my LinkedIn accurately
Okay.
um, to
Sure.
the event that I created, but that's okay because I think it is still streaming. If you
Okay.
go on your LinkedIn, it should show that it's live on your page as well. Just some
I
technical
I
difficulty on
am a
my end.
LinkedIn noob, so I'm gonna just trust you out here. I'm sure it's showing up because I did get a notification on LinkedIn
Oh, okay.
on that. Yeah, asking me to attend it or accept it. This was like
Okay.
a couple of days back, and so I
That's
think the
perfect.
integration was working. Yeah.
That's perfect. Well, hello
Yeah.
everyone for tuning in. Thank you for tuning into the Nancy Chu live stream. I don't have another name other than using my own name.
Which
And
is the best,
usually,
right?
usually we talk about product management leadership and spirituality. Sometimes we talk about solopreneurship, and we haven't really talked about anything too technical. So this episode today will be probably my most technical episode yet. And today I have Amit Balani, who is an AI expert, product leader, and also startup advisor, to tell us the importance of transforming your leadership in the age of AI. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Amit, to tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, really pleasure being here. Thank you so much for inviting me, Nancy. It's always great to be with leaders who've actually been in the journey and seen Silicon Valley change over the last decade, especially with AI now, and previously I think it was like cloud. So I think a lot of things have changed, and a lot of great innovations been happening, which we only saw back in the 90s with the dot-com internet boom.
Mhm.
So some are even dubbing this the internet moment, although it's actually been happening since 2012, or really the explosion started in 2017 with machine learning models coming to the forefront. And so I'm just really fortunate to be here. I came to the United States like 12 years ago when this whole movement was brewing. And me and my professors actually, in my undergrad, we actually still go back and joke that in 2009, we used to think this thing is just gonna pass. It'll be like a fad because machine learning has been around since the 1950s, and it requires huge amount of compute resources and huge amounts of data. Of course, like there's a term called garbage in, garbage out, popular phrase, and you really need to not just mine the data, but make sure it's really good quality. And a lot of product managers' times have countless number of like day hours and even like nights have been spent in labeling, getting the pipelines right. And so back in 2009, of course, this was more of a recommender system. It still wasn't accurate. By the way, shout out to LinkedIn. They've been improving, but it's still not perfect. I think it needs a lot of improvement on the recommender side if LinkedIn product managers are listening.
What's
But
not perfect about it?
I think maybe after the live ends, we can share some screenshots. But with respect to job recommendations, and also with respect to, if you use the search bar, it's not really giving you results that you're looking for.
Okay.
It's one of my friends actually. She was an exec leader and looking for executive leadership roles in a particular segment. It was marketing, and she got roles advertised to her, which was completely different. So I have some funny screenshots.
I
But I
see.
think LinkedIn has been improving quite a lot. Credit to them in terms of integrating language models lately. Especially since Microsoft has been instrumental in going after the enterprises
Yeah.
and integrating their whole stack in the last decade. Under the leadership of Satya, I think it's been beautiful. So coming back to leadership, I think a lot of people do believe that this whole Chat GPT moment is a moment in machine learning and AI. tools getting extremely good in 2022 when this was. We already knew about the machine learning tools that existed in 2017, 18. The attention and transformers research and that paper actually came out in 17. In Google, in 2017, Google I/O actually did an announcement where they showed the true power of language models, where they were dialing in and making a AI robot was actually making calls, customer calls. And so for those interested, you can go back and see those 2017 clips. And I feel that the models have been improving themselves, but we all saw it coming. It's more about user experience and
Mhm.
packaging it in a way that general audiences like public can use it. So far, I think since 2010 or 11, people have just been using the news feed and recommender systems, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or
Right.
they've been interacting with recommender systems with respect to Netflix, suggesting them movies,
I was gonna
or
say
Spot.
Netflix.
Right. And if you remember, I think 2011, 12, it was horrible. But as you kept giving it more and more data, and the
Yeah.
models, of course, kept improving, in 2013, 14, it started getting more and more accurate, to a point where you would go with an idea that I want to watch this movie, but you would actually watch completely different movies because you were going to be enticed by some of their top
Yes.
movies from the recommender systems, and then you would lose track. So
Yes.
people were complaining, spending like hours on there.
Yeah, that's
Same with
me.
Spotify. That was you. Okay. That was me too. I'm guilty. A huge movie buff, and I sometimes try to not trust recommender systems because only use tools when you want to watch something, but it never happens. I mean, they can
Mhm.
sometimes get you with their cute UI, and the feature they have right now, which is the top 10 movies that they list out, which is pretty insane. It's not just powered by the recommender system, but it's
Mhm.
also using other metrics such as watch time around the US or in the same demographic as you are. So
Right.
these systems are getting better and better with more data.
Yes.
But I think going back to the point, even if you look at Microsoft's trajectory under Satya's leadership, and you see the pivotal moments have been around how you package the technology and how do you let the users experience it. So UX has been one of the primary focuses.
Mhm.
There's also companies focusing on DX, which is developer experience. I was
Mm.
at Stripe's conference event just this week, and there was a huge focus on enterprise companies, which were B2B2C, but now they're essentially like B2B, the way they're
Mhm.
scaling. Um, I come from NVIDIA. NVIDIA is huge on DX, developer advocacy and developer experiences.
Mhm.
Same with Microsoft. I think when they realized that enterprises was going to be their focus, which I believe, Satya brought, the company just transformed quite a bit, and you can see it. Uh, and so I think going back to that point, transforming your leadership, I think
Yes.
you have to find your North Star. What is your focus that you as an organization, as a product team within an organization want to focus on? And then once you have your North Star, you want to be mindful of whoever are your users and now even developers, because essentially the difference between $1 billion company and $1 trillion company is whether they are product companies or platform companies. So you can really be a very successful $1 or $10 billion company if you have great products. But if you want to scale beyond that, you have to think of a platform play. Stripe is a payments platform, right? So they have to actually go out there and get help from other enterprises that are using this. And so they need to ensure their products have good developer experiences,
Mhm.
easy use of APIs, SDKs, and tools. Ensure that you are looking at their flow end to end, right? What they really need. And that also goes back to users. So if as a product team you're building products that are going to be used by end consumers, really looking at their flow, seeing where their pain points are. So I think if we talk about ChatGPT, we basically see that as a UX, uh, you know, uh, innovation more than an ML innovation, because the technology was already there.
Mhm. Yes.
And when you look at how it reached 100 million users, it's because the search was broken. It never gave you the answers you needed. So
Mhm.
even when ChatGPT was hallucinating, people were like, oh wow, this is a great experience, at least I'm getting some answer.
Yeah.
Oh well, I understand why it's hallucinating, because this can be possible in an alternate universe, right? So I think this whole idea of search being broken and not being pertinent to the question you asked, it's just those blue links, I feel was something that users didn't enjoy as much. They weren't getting the answers, and ChatGPT actually solved that particular pain point. So it would be great if, after you've identified your North Star, you actually go after the UX or DX in your case, if you're dealing with developers.
Right. So is that what
I
you mean by understanding the impact of transformers on product management leadership, or is that something else?
Yes. So I think, first of all, it's extremely important to understand your users and go after them. I think that's 101, product leadership.
Mhm.
The second aspect of it is transformers, in the sense that you are seeing the world around you become more tokenized.
Mhm.
So everything can be converted into a token, which is this
Mhm.
small unit. So just now we are speaking back and forth, and we've probably had an exchange of 100 to 200 words maybe in the last minute or so, and that translates to 500 tokens, let's say.
Mhm.
you know so we've already exchanged tokens, and essentially a code base can be a token too. Your proteins can be tokens. There's massive movement in robotics field in the last couple of years, and it's skyrocketing this year. Some are even dubbing it the robotics era, or the decade of robotics. And I truly believe it, because we've been able to take in physical sensor motions and tokenize them. So if you can tokenize a language like English, Python, C, C++,
Mhm.
you're really bringing in natural language understanding, and use natural language understanding to give instructions to machines to perform a certain output. And so machines can really be our friends. Thinking about product leadership and PMs, I think one of the things is that's handy is building fast and prototyping now becomes your asset. You don't have to be blocked. The whole era of you need to hire a couple of software engineers to get started is now done. Even if you don't have the resources, and let's say you're getting buy-in from leadership for your product feature, you could actually easily prototype it. There's, of course, a lot of tools available already, but based on just the natural language understanding, you can now interact with these tools very efficiently.
So
So
wh- what
that's
what
one
does
of the.
yeah, what does leadership need to understand about the impact of transformers?
So I think leaders who are actually building products, whether it's next generation products or finding product market fit,
Mhm.
it's now easier to code or to prototype these user interfaces with transformers, right? With transformer technology, whether it's creating videos through Sora, or other tools like Runway, whether it's creating code base through Code Llama. It's getting much easier now. Of course, the one thing to understand is these are approximations.
Mhm.
Machine learning is not going to give you a production quality code ever, or it is not going to give you a user interface that
Right.
you will go to market with. But it will give you enough of an approximation to go to your leadership meeting getting buy-in, or you test it out. There's a lot of testing, whether it's in-house or external testing with users, A/B testing. Those things can actually be done very effectively with the transformer technology.
What
And
is transformer technology?
So transformers have been around for a while. Actually, they were one of the core pieces that were, uh, like released into 2017. Before that, it was traditional machine learning algorithms that were used for predicting. So essentially, it's labeling things, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
started off by labeling things. What's a spam? What's not?
Yeah.
And what song should I, recommend Nancy? Which one should I not? What profile does Nancy fit in for me to give her movie recommendations? What is a cat or not? So it's really like labeling systems.
Yeah.
That's how I would characterize it. And then with transformers, what happened is you're still using those labeling systems, some supervised learning. You're predicting the next word, but you're
Mm-hmm.
training it on an entire internet as opposed to just training it on a small data set. And how is it now possible to do that is because compute technologies have become much better.
Yeah.
They've actually in the last decade, they've improved a million X, right? Thanks to some GPU technology, accelerated computing, memory bandwidth. Because just like us humans, like you have a kid, you're teaching your kid, and there's information overload, right? But they have a lot of uh, efficiency
Mm-hmm.
when there's no data. But as you start filling data into the memory as we adult, the absorption rate goes low
Yeah.
because you're actually filling up that memory, right? So memory bottlenecks are something that we dealt with a lot back in 2012, 15, but now with better accelerated computing
Mm-hmm.
platforms, we don't deal with memory bottlenecks as much, and so you can take in much more data.
Yeah.
You can train these models with world data, and that's what GPT has been doing. Google led that research with BERT, and then later OpenAI came out with their own models. So I think that's just becoming, better and better at predicting. So when you train something at world's data, you can train it on code so that the models can now code. And this is all possible based on transformers.
And what are the
And
current limitations of transformer
so
technology?
So I think training on world data gives you anything and everything you want. You can ask it to be a philosopher. You can ask it to be, Da Vinci, and design things based on that. But these are always going to be approximations because there's still prediction involved. It's predicting based on the generic internet it's trained on. There are mixed opinions. What do you do when something happens? What's the first instinct you have, Nancy? If something goes wrong, with at home, let's say, you don't have
Restart.
access to a plumber. What do you do?
Oh, I was like, oh, I'll just restart it. That's
Yeah,
what
I
we
think
did.
turning it on and off, it helps for sure. But I think what I end up doing if something goes wrong with at home, or with your dog, let's say, you go Google search it.
Yes.
You can't help it, but you go. I've done WebMD as well. I don't know how many people tuning in have done that. So you go out there on the internet and you come out more confused than you were before.
Well, you might
because
be
there's
stuck in a
mixed
rabbit
reviews.
hole for a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just named it. You can get stuck in a rabbit hole because it's so easy for these transformer networks to predict, the next token, predict code. They'll give you a code. Maybe that's not what you want. So there's multiple options. You can keep prompting it, and you might come out more confused. You might get overloaded with the amount of responses. You don't know whether that's accurate or not. Even if your testing tools are really, really good, you at times you cannot predict where that particular code will fail or where that particular prototype might have limitations, right? So I think some of it will always be like testing it out in the real world. But there's a lot of, especially when you're going out to production with these technologies, we need to understand that human in the loop and having some subject matter expert judge that would be great. I'm sure you would be more comfortable if, let's say, your web MD suggests something, and then you can quickly confirm it with the doctor, right?
Yes.
And you won't have time to get, like you don't have 30 minutes, doctor doesn't have 30 minutes, you have to schedule everything in. You can quickly over a text just confirm. And this could be a 5-minute appointment versus a 30-minute traditional appointment. And you have a subject matter in the loop, right?
Yeah.
And that subject matter, doctor in this case, actually confirms. And now you actually go in more confident, right? You're not as confused because
Yeah.
there's someone to have your back.
So knowing that, how does an AI product manager or a leader of a AI-driven technology company navigate these limitations?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest pieces is having human in the loop is key. Having the right domain experts. So if you're building an application that's healthcare oriented, one of the startups I'm advising, they're actually doing that. We have tons of MDs, not just on the board, but also part of the team, right? So that actually makes it extremely easy for you to go through those validation loops and iterate rapidly. The second thing would be once you have something that's been trained, tested, validated, you want to make sure that you have a holistic data. So make sure that there is nothing biasing the data. So your model could be a generic model. Llama 3 just launched last week. It's a really good model for those who want to build with code. I think there's also different capabilities, multimodal capabilities, where you can actually have a napkin pitch of your idea, and you can let the model go wild and tell you marketing strategies for your idea, which is awesome. And using these tools is actually great. It's again like a calculator, it's a tool, but you need to ensure that that data could be biased. It's actually trained on the internet, so it might not be grounded as much. It might not be totally applicable. It's like watching a YouTube video or someone else's journey that might not be applicable to you exactly. So that's where the focus. Yeah, go ahead.
So the validation phase, is that something that should be owned by the end user, or is that something the product or the company could support?
I think it's always the responsibility of the product owners. In this case, the product team coming out of the feature. I mean, imagine, Nancy, if something broke, let's say, in a healthcare application, right? Yes, you are responsible for giving the app feedback, but would you really blame yourself? Actually, users shouldn't be blamed. Customers always right. No, I think customers are given good tools today. So if you use ChatGPT, you have RLHF, which is called reinforcement learning through human feedback. There's another approach which is getting popularity, and I'm glad. I talk a lot about this. It is in short, it's called RAG, but what it stands for is retrieval augmented generation. So essentially, what that means is you're taking in a Llama 3 model, which is very, very powerful, trained on the internet, but you're grounding that model on top of the healthcare databases you have. And so that way it's grounded in all of the healthcare best practices. So I think that's something that should be kept in mind. Yeah.
So let's say I'm an AI PM and I need to plan my next launch. How much time should I allocate toward validation?
I would say you wouldn't change your flow. A lot of people, not just AI PMs, but also developers, they think of cloud or some of these other like tools that have been released as tools to like replace their jobs. That's not what it's for. Yes, it might make you 5x more productive, which is the point, right? The point is this is an industrial revolution. It's going to make us way more productive so that we can solve even tough challenges that we were not able to solve. So I think that's where your focus should be, to enhance productivity, but keep your processes still same, see whatever processes don't make sense anymore, given AI can automate some of those tasks. For example, a lot of manual tasks which used to take a long time
Right.
in supply chain, manufacturing supply chain, now have been automated. Some by robots, some by other automations, right? Healthcare note taking, that's a huge one. I mean, there used to be always like nurses and doctors'
Yes.
time dedicated to taking notes,
Yes.
summarizing them. All of that can be replaced.
Yes.
So things that can be automated and replaced, you can certainly get rid of those tasks and processes. But then making sure you still have those important checks and balances. You cannot just build agents that are autonomous, that just take over.
Yeah.
You'll still need a human in the loop. Even agentic workflows with multiple language models powered by these transformers, even if you have that as part of that flow, you'll still have to rely on the same validation process. So I would say the time won't change. It's the same percentage.
Yeah.
Maybe the value of the time goes down. If earlier you were spending 5 hours, you might spend 2, but or significantly lesser. But the percentage of your cycle, that's validation, remains the same.
Got it. Makes total sense. And that leads to my next question, which is, how do we build and scale reliable ML products in this generative AI era?
Yeah, I think the biggest pieces, which is reinforcement learning through human feedback, having the right validation, human in the loop, domain experts in the loop.
How do you know what is the right validation loop?
I think that's a good question. Company is still figuring that out. And you oftentimes see releases go out. The only way to fix it is to understand how critical your application is and design your release cycle. So if I'm a Netflix, I don't care as much if the flow breaks, because I'm just recommending movies, or basically trying to enhance the experience for a movie watcher. So if that goes wrong, I can always fix it in the next quarterly release. But if it's a critical healthcare application, then of course it is not going out. So I would say that the lead times for even like bigger applications like robotics and healthcare have reduced significantly with generative AI.
By how
just
much?
Because so healthcare, we are seeing speed ups in drug discovery of over 2x, easy, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and even more actually.
Okay.
But that's just drug discovery. Imagine like there's a lot of tasks like note taking, and other tasks like robot process automation can actually fully automate. So those monotonous tasks will completely go away. And so that saves you a lot of time, right?
So the low risk tasks can be automated completely.
Yeah, low risk, and even tasks that have high impact but are low hanging fruits. Those should,
Got it.
Those should completely be taken away. And that's the main focus, to actually take away those low hanging fruits, higher impact tasks, be automated, and increase your productivity as engineers and product managers. Scale your prototyping speed, just speed up your prototyping. That helps you scale.
How
So
much
those three
can we
things.
expect the prototyping to be faster?
So it depends on the application, but I can tell you about my experience. So earlier, it used to take anywhere between 2 to 3 hours to go scout a location, clean up the area, and have a product shoot for, let's say, advertising our product. Right before the demos, right before your conferences, you're scouting a place to shoot, you're getting the products ready, everything. Now, if you have CAD drawings, right, and you can actually convert them to photorealistic drawings, and then automate the environment that you want. And this could be done with prompts. Like in less than 30 minutes, you can get to it's all up to you. I mean, you might spend 3 hours actually prompting the engine. We've also seen like some creatives actually spend 4 or 5 hours to come up with the magazine covers, right? But typically, going out there, hiring a photographer, hiring a whole crew, getting a location ready, those
Mhm.
things can go away for some applications.
Mm.
For some other applications like Hollywood, those are extremely important. So
Yeah.
yes, you might see some productivity boost in
Mhm.
editing, but
Mhm.
you'll still need, photographers. You
Yeah.
still need world-class videographers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Makes sense. One last question. What makes a product leader a good ML product leader versus just a regular good product leader?
I think understanding that the ML is not a magic pill, it's actually an approximation.
Mhm.
We are working really hard in the industry
Mm.
to come out with explainability. We call it explainability AI. So explaining, what your AI models are doing behind the scenes. Why did they come to a conclusion? Why did your
Okay.
autonomous driving car stop
Yeah.
at this intersection, even though there's no one passing by, right? I think that is a lot of work that's going on, and we will improve there as an industry. But for a product leader, you need to understand this is not a magic pill.
Mm.
This actually comes with a lot of limitations we talked about earlier.
Yes.
So, as long as you're aware of that, while you use this technology, not
Yeah.
getting scared that it'll replace, but just augment. Those two things
Right.
are, I think, key.
Why are
Don't be
people
scared.
Yeah, why are people so scared?
I think so. A lot of people like I talk to, they start correlating two different events that are not related. So a lot of
Mm.
layoffs happening, and then you see, AI on the rise,
Yeah.
models getting better and better.
Yeah.
And this is something that I talk about. Model footprints are actually reducing. So from 2017, we went to bigger and bigger models because we were trying to build a world model that will be great at everything.
Mm.
Now we are seeing a shift into specialized models, right, which are reducing in size, and footprint, just because efficiency is something that is important, right? So people get scared that whatever was the server was doing that, now my PC can do it, my phones can do it, right?
Mhm.
So eventually, it's going to replace us. And that happened with industrial revolution too, by the way, right? Machines
Yeah.
making you more productive.
Yes.
People thought that, oh, we don't have to work anymore. How great this world would be that we can just sit and enjoy, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you can never sit and enjoy. There's going to be so many more jobs created.
Yes.
So much more work we have to go to Mars one day. Space travel hopefully
Mhm.
becomes, I would want that. Like, I would want AI to help us to get into space sooner so that I can do space travel. I love traveling.
Why do you wanna
Um,
do space travel?
I think just to see,
Okay.
other planets
Yeah.
that, yeah,
You
yeah,
wanna you
just to
want a
see
tour.
something outside of Earth
Okay.
as well.
You wanna be a tourist.
Yeah, I think I love traveling, but other people have bigger goals. They
Mm.
want to get inspiration from, and also mine other precious metals, elements, right? That could be useful to us actually.
Mhm. Yeah.
And of course, Elon's, goals are higher. He wants to colonize Mars because he actually does feel like resources are getting constrained now. We actually have two risks that we
Mm.
have to solve for, right? One is the population collapse, but at the same time, right now we
Yeah.
have a resource crunch. So
Yeah. So we're
I think
going after abundance.
abundance, absolutely.
I
Hopefully there will be abundant travel for me to go experience different places. But yeah,
I'm sure it's in the horizon for you.
yeah.
Tell us about the course you're teaching on ML foundations for product managers.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of good tools out there, and I definitely want to, teach people the foundations behind those tools
Hmm.
so that they can be empowered leaders. Again, some of it we talked about, like human feedback, domain experts in the loop, a RAG, which is, a retrieval augmented generation. How do you actually use that in your organization? You don't have to code, I promise. There's no coding. There is, no technical knowledge required. If you
Yeah.
don't know statistics or math, it's totally fine.
Well,
It
I'm
doesn't.
terrible. I'm terrible in stats.
Yeah, I think I love math, but I was actually very terrified of proving equations. So my first machine learning class was actually Andrew Ng's class, and we had to use algebra,
Mm.
statistics, as well as like theoretical math to prove out theorems. And now I feel those skills are actually very useful. But of course, this course is going to be focused on applied. So it's an
Mm.
applied ML foundations course. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about real Silicon Valley case studies. One of them was a startup I was part of when I was back at Stanford. So this would be really, really cool. It's a marketplaces startup.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like, case studies from real world companies as well. I have a couple of guests who are ML executives that will
Mm.
come. And so you get a chance to hang out with them. But then the whole idea is to cut through the noise, a lot of hype, make people more empowered, and the idea is to have product leaders be more confident when they walk out.
What do you mean by feeling more empowered? Are you saying that a lot of product leaders today don't feel empowered?
Feeling empowered with machine learning, not be
Mm.
scared, be more confident in using these, understanding their limitations more
Mm-hmm.
confidently.
Mm.
And today, I think a lot of uh, the leaders are empowered for sure, but they're not as confident in using
Mm.
some of these because you saw how the Google announcement was a train wreck. They tried to go after like they did overfitting basically, which is something that I talk about in the course.
Okay.
So they wanted rapid inclusion of all sorts of data. They didn't want to have any bias related issues.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is inaccuracies when you search for founding fathers, right? And that was just one corner case. There's
Right.
so many other corner cases that you can hit. And it's just like we tend to take apart big companies, but
Mm.
smaller companies, startups, product teams are making mistakes daily on
Mm.
these things.
Mm.
And sometimes they're actually making these mistakes, going to production, and then reverting later,
Mm.
which obviously it's not a good sign. If you're a product leader, you believe in a technology, there's nothing wrong with the technology as long as you understand the risks and limitations and account for those, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one of the most important pieces we focus on.
I have a question on this market trend of being a AI PM because, like you said, AI is technology.
Mhm.
That's like saying I am a HTML PM.
Yes, I
Why?
think you're absolutely right.
Right. Why this trend?
So notice, I think my team, when Gagan reached out, I actually rely on a team to like come up, because I'm horrible at marketing. So come up with like the name,
Yeah.
what would be the best possible name for this? And notice I don't say AIPM anywhere.
Yes.
I want to refrain from it
Yes.
because it's just a product blueprint for you to be successful. AI is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's like electricity. Use it.
Yeah.
Data is your energy. Some people call it oil. Um, you know, I call it energy.
Yeah.
So data is just energy. This is an infrastructure. Use it to your benefit,
Right.
increase your productivity, but everyone's going to be using it.
Yes.
There is no such thing as AI PM. Everyone will
Right.
be an AI PM.
Right.
Everyone will be an AI company,
Right.
right?
Right.
So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
I love it. I love it. Well, when is your class happening?
So this is happening on Mother's Day weekend.
Oh my
So you
gosh.
can hopefully transform your leadership with ML tools, with knowledge of ML foundations over a weekend. That's and we have like 3 product leaders.
Mhm.
These are ML executives.
Yeah.
Have known them since 10 plus years, and um, one of them is actually has been in the startup world. So we're really proud. Just the timing of it, we all could just come together on that
That's
weekend.
great.
So
And
it's all live. It's
are they
100%
giving
live.
lectures as well? It's more of a conversation.
It's both.
Okay.
So with live, the way I wanted to have it is more of an interaction.
Mhm.
So yes, there's going to be content.
Mm.
I would say the content part of it is 30%, because you
Okay.
definitely need some content
Yeah.
to get people familiarized. But
Yeah.
it's 30% content, 70% organic interactions,
Mm.
mostly ask me anything style, just
Mhm.
like how we did. I know there were like 3, 4 questions, some of them from the audience. So we will do the same style,
Mhm.
and they'll be answering along with me.
Okay. Are there exercises that we'll be doing, hands-on exercises?
Yes. So this is one of the things from my Stanford experience I learned. I was teaching, I was a co-instructor, so lecturer teaching the past couple of years. And one of the biggest observations was the curriculum that you see is sometimes boxed onto, you know, one aspect, whether it's one aspect of product management.
Mhm.
And it is not as holistic, and you don't get real life case studies. You
Mm.
get case studies that are from HBS. They're famous cases, famous companies.
Mhm.
Some might be like 2 years old, some might be 10, but you don't get like real time, real world case studies.
Mhm.
So that was one of the things that I wanted to change with this. So yeah, you
Mhm.
get tons of exercises based on real companies, real startups.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
great. Well, thank you so much for coming on to my live stream, Amit. It was a very enlightening conversation, and I
yeah,
love your emphasis on a little bit of a calming effect on the people who might be really worried about AI. But like you said,
yeah.
it's like oil, it's like electricity, it's a tool.
I agree.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
so I think the best thing is to just embrace it,
Yes.
use it, and be
Yeah.
comfortable with the flaws.
Yes, yes, and know how to use it.
Right.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Well, I
Thanks a
hope
lot.
you'll
It
join
was a
me
pleasure.
again in my next live stream.
Absolutely. Yeah, very looking forward to it.
See you next
Thank you so
time.
much again.